This episode includes discussions of war, trauma, racism, death, and suicide. Viewer discretion is advised. When the battle overseas ends, but the war still comes home with you. Today, Doc shares the fight he faces every day and what it means to share decades later. Streetlight Confessions starts now. Streetlight Confessions is a podcast for storytelling, conversation, and personal reflection. The views shared by the hosts and guests are their own and do not constitute medical, psychological, legal, or professional advice. Listener discretion is advised. I grew up in a time where men didn't talk. You kept it in, you handled it, or you broke. But now, I'm done with the silence. This is Streetlight Confessions, a podcast where men speak the truth about pain, about pressure, about mental health. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a man who lived some life. And I know we need this. Real conversations, no fluff, no fake masculinity. If you're tired of pretending everything is fine, follow the show. Let's build something honest together. Hola, mi gente, and welcome back to Streetlight Confessions. Today we have with us former Sergeant Ronald Doc Spate. Did I say it right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to make sure. This man has served over 17 years in our military and our armed forces. How are you today, sir?
As best can be expected.
Awesome. So, Doc, as we've discussed prior, you have 17 years of military experience. For those who don't know, can you give us a brief description of your service with 17 years in our military?
I was in the United States Army Medical Corps. I served 17 years over a 23-year period because I had a break in service. I was active duty for 13 years. I was individual ready reserve for 3 years, and I was National Guard for 1 year. I've been through the Vietnam era, the Cold War era, and the Desert Storm era with service. I'm unique because I'm a Vietnam evacuation veteran. Unfortunately, as a medic, I've been on literally hundreds of ambulance runs. I've seen human beings die in every possible way that they could die. I myself was injured and almost lost my life, which is why I'm in the physical condition I am now while saving an individual's life. I'm 100% disabled veteran. I suffer from PTSD and chronic pain. There's not a moment in my life that I am not in pain. I do not drink, nor do I take any type of drugs, except for legal medications. My PTSD follows me to this day. I work with children. I've had children die on me. It is hard to come back into society, even after all these years. 51 years ago was the evacuation of Vietnam. 51 years ago. There were times so dark in my life that I had no desire to be here anymore. The things that I've always wanted in life were family, things I can't have with family. Because my PTSD makes me isolate, makes me separate, makes me leave. I've been homeless, not because I didn't work, not because I was on drugs or alcohol. I was homeless because there were times in my life where I could not be around human beings. Especially children. Children's screams, children's voices translates in my head to screams from the refugee camps. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there was always children, thousands of children and adults crying and screaming, crying and screaming. I'd never seen so much pain before. And the thing is, it's not like I was a rookie. I was on my second enlistment when that happened. I'd worked in ICU. I'd been on a whole lot of ambulance runs. So I wasn't a rookie when that happened. But at the camps, we had things like outbreaks of cholera. I got to see things there that I'd never seen before. I actually got to see a case of leprosy. They gave us an award. We were the first to receive Humanitarian Service Medal, and they gave us a certificate of appreciation that said that we served with so many exotic diseases that they were a hazard to our health. And they were. But even after that, I stayed in. And then another problem happened where an individual got injured, and I went to rescue him. And then I got injured just as bad, but the rescue was successful, which is why I have 2 cervical spinal surgeries. Then after that, we had an incident where I had to medevac a friend out of the field because we were firing on a range. I think it was level 1 gunnery, and some odd reason, somehow the Ma Deuce 50 caliber machine gun has triggers like that. It hit him here. He bounced down in the tank because he was a tank commander, and it hit him here and tore all this back. I'm there, me and Specialist Rogers, who's my junior medic and driver. We went down. We called it in to our hire. PA told us, bring him back to the aid station. Okay. Now, first of all, we're extracting somebody in 20-degree weather from a tank. Okay. He's bleeding all in my face. Okay. We get him down. We get him on a litter. We got to stop his head. So, we stopped his head. We stopped his head from bleeding. So I had a warrant officer telling me to bring him back. But me, I'm the sergeant there. And I know he's graying out. He's not going to make it. There's no way he's going to make it back there. This is a 13-ton vehicle, travels 35 miles an hour at full speed. Okay. We got to go over hills and all this other stuff. He's not going to make it. So I go to the German army, and I tell them, we need to get this man out of here. And I want him medevaced. I want him medevaced now. So they agreed, probably because I was adamant, and plus because of the fact that I also had a 45 on me. And we took him to a civilian hospital. Now I'm covered in his blood. He's at a civilian hospital. And a lot of the doctors there were not very fluent in English. And he needed me to stay with him. So I stayed with him until he went into surgery. And then for I think it was 2 or 3 days, I sat out there in the waiting room when he went from surgery to recovery, covered in his blood. And they finally, came and got me. And I flew with him to a military hospital. So I never left his side, never left the soldier's side. And they wanted to punish me for that because I refused the order. So basically what they said was, outstanding job, love what you did, but you spent money to save this guy, so we're really not going to, do anything for you. A few months later, when he was back on his feet again, he wrote me a letter of appreciation, but he did it in the third person.
Okay.
And I have that letter on my wall, thanking me for saving his life.
Now, let me stop you for 1 second. Why did he write it in the third person?
Because he was an officer, and I defied an officer, and he was a junior officer. So I'm assuming he was trying to protect himself, but at the same time show me gratitude, which is kind of ironic because the reason that I am injured is because of another head injury. I was stationed at West Point, and I was the assistant ward master in the medical surgical unit, which means I don't leave that ward.
That was going to be my next question. What does that mean?
But they needed somebody to go on an ambulance run off post because we had a reciprocal agreement with Newburgh about that. We would supply them ambulances. So I'm back in the ambulance section, which I had left. I'm back in the ambulance section again. We're going on our way here. And when we get there, I'm wearing a white cotton uniform. It's April. It's New York. It's upstate. It's cold. They're 300 feet down. There's a burning vehicle. And we didn't have ropes. We didn't have any way to slide down. So he had this huge aid bag. So I decided to strap it to my back. And I figured I would just slide down the snow and get to him because he, was going down. He was on an outcropping. Well, I slid roughly about 50 feet. Back then we had beepers.
I remember those.
And I had a walkie-talkie on me and I had the aid bag. And nobody else really wanted to go down there, but I just couldn't leave him down there. So we went down. I went down the mountain and my feet had outcropping of snow. Under that snow was I'm assuming some type of rock or something, because I shot forward and I bounced down that mountain a few hundred feet, which is where I got my cervical injuries from. I managed, at this time I'm a little bit bloody, I managed to get to him, pull him out of the car, place him on the ground, then scooped up some snow so that the car would go into a smoldering mode because I wasn't going to let it blow up and be down there after all that.
With all that going on, you still were aware that there was a possibility that the car was going to explode and you threw snow on it to smother it.
Yes. And because it had flammable liquids in the back, you could smell them. And the first thing I got over him, because once again, all this head's torn off. And I'm using an abdominal dressing for his head. His first words to me were, "Get off me, nigga." Now, I'm a soldier. I'm a professional. I'm also black. But at that time, I was a soldier and I was professional. And I pinned him down and I put that dressing on him and held him down there and did what was necessary to save his life. I received the Army Commendation Medal for that, along with the other individual was there. And by that time, the fire company came and they had the rescue ladders and everything. And I know we took him back to the hospital. I just don't remember that part at all.
So it's completely erased from your memory.
Yeah. Just like there are instances of the refugee camps that I can't remember. There are instances when I almost fell out the helicopter while medevacing that soldier that I can't remember.
Now, to bring you back to that moment for a second, most people in your position, when he called you out of your name and used the N-word to describe a man that climbed down a mountain to rescue him, I'm sure that had to burn you up inside, that you're trying to save a person. And that was the time we lived in where you'd rather die than have a person of color save you.
Well, that's 1978. So, wasn't that far removed from the 60s. But he was an older gentleman. And, well, first of all, my parents raised me right. Okay? They were good people. They were strong people. And I could have done bad stuff to him and nobody was near me, so. But I'm above that. I'm better than that. And so I did what I was supposed to do. Not to mention, I was really amped up because first I thought I was going to die because I couldn't see anything except what I was hitting next. Going down that mountain. And it's kind of funny when I tell people that because they think I fell straight down. If I fell straight down, I'd be, I kind of bounced down, ruined my uniform, did save the man's life, did get him back to the hospital, and continued my shift because I was working 16 hours that night.
that brings me to a question I have to ask you, because you mentioned your parents and you mentioned growing up. Now, from having conversations with you, I know you're a Philly guy. You're one of us. You bleed green. So, tell us about growing up in, I believe, in West Philadelphia.
No,
No,
North.
North
In
Philly.
in North Philadelphia, born and raised. At Fitzsimons and Dobbins, where I spent most of my days. Didn't play
Six in
no
Hunting
b-ball
Park.
after school. I hung out at the swimming pool. I always wanted to do that.
Well,
The
you just did, my friend.
the dad was a soldier. Dad served in World War II and in Korea. And when he was in Korea, he served with not only his little brother, my uncle, but with my aunt's oldest son. And they all came home together. Dad was treated horribly during World War II because he was in the segregated army. But he never passed that on to us. He never passed on any of that hatred onto us. My mother was a very strong and articulate woman. She's part Lenape, the original people of the Delaware. She was abandoned by that part of her family and placed into an orphanage. And then the black side of her family came and got her and, loved her and rescued her. My aunts and uncles from that side, who I got to know later on in life, were all gone. Now, me, my older brother, and my two sisters, we are now the older generation. We have no aunts. We have no uncles. We have no grandparents. They're all gone. We have lost cousins. We have lost siblings. I come from a military family. I am the proud son of a veteran, the proud nephew of a veteran, the proud cousin of a veteran, and a veteran myself.
How did that shape you growing up in that environment? How did that shape you as a child?
Well, see, Dad had PTSD. Back then it was called shell shock. And Dad had it really bad. And you couldn't walk into Dad's room when he was asleep. Dad kept a bayonet under his pillow. If you made noise, you could come in. But if you crept up on him, he would jump out and he'd have that look in his eye like he's ready to defend himself. Dad got, when I was about 13, Dad had gotten so bad that they had to put him in Coatesville Hospital up in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, VA Hospital. And that shaped my life greatly because I was basically a well-loved and protected child. My older brother protected me. My cousins protected me. Dad protected me. My uncles and aunts protected me. Mom protected me. That led me to take a slight turn while running track for Fitzsimons, I was just running, and I was running up a road, and I ran into the wrong neighborhood, and I was physically attacked for simply looking the way that I look, being black. Now, this is the 60s. And so that made me, I got away, luckily, but I carried this scar on my forehead from that.
Lift your hat up a little bit. Okay, I see.
From that attack, from that racist attack. And that made me join a gang. And I stayed with that gang for 2 years because I needed vengeance. And I did not wish to involve my family in that. And we got vengeance. But at the same time, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And I won stupid prizes by being cut, stabbed, shot, beat by a car antenna. And I just 8 blocks away from the neighborhood. If I'd done it in the neighborhood, every grown up in that neighborhood would have slapped me in the head, including Mom.
The wrath of Mom.
So my older brother was busy working. I had 2 little sisters who were too young to actually know anything. We had rules in the corners back then. You didn't mess with anybody if they weren't your age group and all that good stuff. Nowadays, it's just weird.
There were rules to the streets back then.
Yeah.
Even when I grew up in the 90s, 80s and 90s, there were rules to the streets.
Yeah.
And those rules are long gone.
Yeah, they are.
Although we're not in the streets no more. I'm sure you have a keen ear to the streets. Uh,
Well, you always have to live in reality. Like when people tell me, like, I don't want to go to North Philly, man, they'll beat me up. And you have to explain to people, the only people that will bother you in North Philadelphia are criminals who would bother me in North Philadelphia. So if you want to be white, brown, green, purple, you can walk through North Philadelphia. Nobody's going to bother you unless they're a criminal, because then they'll get me too. Whereas me living in the Northeast,
it's a lot safer. Let's just say that.
no, no, it's not.
Well, not then, maybe.
There's like
Okay.
3 blocks down there, 2 Confederate flags. It's not that safe.
Wow.
So you have to be able to live in reality and understand that poor does not mean bad. To understand that because you are a veteran does not make you honorable. Okay, you are only honorable because I'm a minister, but I know some devilish ministers. I know some devilish veterans. Your job title never makes you honorable, nor does it make you grown. Because like I explained to everyone that knows me, you are only grown when you accept responsibility for everything that comes out of your mouth. Everything, every one of your actions, that's what makes you grown. That's what makes you an individual who is capable of leading. Now in the Army, I've been everything from acting medical platoon sergeant to first litter bearer. The reason I left active duty was because my PTSD and chronic pain issues had gotten so bad, and I could have retired at 39 with 20 years in. But my PTSD issues had gotten so bad that I knew that one day I may hesitate, which will cost somebody their life. So I sacrificed my career for that.
So you enlisted right out of high school because you were 19 years old, I'm assuming?
They were going to draft me, and I was not going to let them draft me. So, because I got married at 17, and no, she wasn't pregnant. And because everybody in my neighborhood went. Everybody in my neighborhood went to Edison, except for me and my brother. Now, anybody knows anything about Edison, they know that Edison lost more individuals in the Vietnam War than anyone else.
I graduated from the class of 1996, Edison High School, Edison Owls.
And I know one of your teachers, Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Matter of fact, he's in one of these books with me. We're taking pictures down to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. He's an outstanding man. He keeps Edison 64 alive, which they should do. By the way, every year, Liberty Bell Chapter 266, Vietnam Veterans of America, the only last surviving Vietnam chapter in Philadelphia. Every year, we go down to the wall, our wall, and we read the names of all those veterans who didn't come home.
So to this day, you still honor them and you keep their memory alive by honoring them yearly, at memorial service.
Same way that we go to Edison when they call us, or that we have our JROTC programs. We have honor guard, although most of us have passed on. We still try, we still try. I mean, the youngest of us would be, I'm in my 70s, the youngest of us is like 69, who'll be 70 soon. Matter of fact, the president and vice president of Vietnam Veterans of America, the president is Steve Uchiniet, and the vice president is Leonard M. Johnson, who's also the commander of the American Legion Juniana Park Memorial Post, which means we do a lot of things with Edison, when we can, but we don't have the manpower anymore, because we're fading out. 20 years from now, we're done. I mean, that's the reality of it. It's not a happy reality of it. There may be 1 or 2 of us left, but we're going to basically be done. And I served with honor, I served with pride, and I saved some lives along the way. I don't do pity, I don't do cries for help. But when I did know I had PTSD, because I grew up in a household with it, I immediately went to get myself treated while active duty. They punished me. Now, I'm a sergeant. I'm a section sergeant. They put someone in charge of me, wrote notes in my medical records asking, he's taking this type of medication. Can he do sick call? Can he drive a vehicle? Can he do this, that, and the other? And they put a little private to watch me. And because we were in the field, and that was not, it didn't work with me. So when I sought help, they punished me. So after that, when I left that post, because I was overseas, by the way, the fun part about being overseas is that I was on OP Romeo, OP India, the real Iron Curtain, where there are a million landmines, and you can physically see the Russians there. I was near the Czech border, and you could see them in the tower pointing their weapons at you. But we were always armed 24 hours a day, but we were not allowed to put our weapons at them. My first day on the border, there was a SM-70. It's a circular, a little bit bigger than a plate. It's a circular mine that goes on the fence. Guy was trying to get over the fence, and it took his head off. We used to call them red roses. That was my first day on the border, looking through GSR scopes to see that.
And that was your introduction.
That was my induction, yeah, to the real Iron Curtain, not this imaginary thing. And the Iron Curtain is not the Berlin Wall. There are two different areas in Germany. The function of the Iron Curtain was all through the Fulda Gap was to stop the ground advances. We were told if anything happened, we had a 5-minute life expectancy up there. We could see their tanks. We had 16 on OP. They had like 120 down there. Berlin was surrounded. They were surrounded. If anything went off in Berlin, they couldn't get to anybody else. In Germany, we had nuclear capabilities, and they were supposed to blow our area. Okay. I was with the 11th ACR. We were the workhorse of the Black Horse. Eagle Horse was our air support. Iron Horse was another, it was either the first or the second. I keep forgetting. And I forget because they weren't as good as the third. Sorry about that, Black Horse, but the third was the best. Sorry. But we lost over 300 people during the Cold War who were shot, including a soldier who was shot in the chest while I was there and had to be brought back through in the 80s. We lost thousands of soldiers there through training incidents, but they aren't recorded. And I don't think I can emphasize this enough. The Cold War was not peacetime. Peacetime was you're back here at home at Fort Fun, okay? Or at Camp Laugh-A-Lot. The real Cold War meant those guys were in the submarines and the Arctic. The real Cold War meant you were in Berlin where you knew you were surrounded. The real Cold War was on the OPs, from Camp Lee to OP Romeo to OP India, the Czech border, all the way down to the sea. Spending months of your time firing big weapons and training. People getting crushed, or sometime a round goes the wrong way. We had terrorist groups like the Bader Meinhof gang or the Red Army faction who would try to take our pictures or find out what we were doing or place bombs around areas that we were at. We lost 2 soldiers. I had to cart their bodies away. Well, our platoon did, who were blown up or injured. And when people keep forgetting about Germany, because, there's some people who were like in party town. But trust me, in Vietnam, they had party town. Okay? So, there were sometimes some people never got out of their khakis. And that's all over the world in any scenario. It's always going to be like that because that's the way the system's structured. But these guys who served in the Cold War get absolutely no credit. They get laughed at. They get called wannabes. But during that time, the hospitals were never empty. They were absolutely never empty. Have you ever seen what happens when a 61-ton tank turns over with people in it? we had people. There was a young man who was firing his M60 machine gun, and he was it was live fire range, and he had to change out the barrel. Because the barrel gets overheated, you got to change it out. Well, we have special gloves to do that. Since it was so cold out, I guess he didn't have those special gloves. So when I got to him, his hands were burned inside of his gloves. We had to literally take him, for second, third degree burns of his hands. There were a lot of accidents. There were a lot of incidents. There were many things, many things that happened. And no, I'm not trying to blow my own horn because I don't want anybody else's shame, and I will not seek anybody else's fame. What I did is exactly what I did, and it has not been 1 year of my active duty life that I have not touched a dead body. Not 1 year of my active duty life, and that's a little 1 or 2 months shy of 13 years that I have not touched a dead body or picked up someone who was so bad that you just didn't want to have lunch that day. But with medical people, it's different because, see, we can't cry. Okay, you can get a hardcore infantry dude. He's out there and he's cursing and he's shooting and he's crying. And he's going through all this hell, and he's raising hell and he's doing his job. I, as a medic, I roll up on you. I don't care how bad it is. I can't cry. I can't yell. I can't say, "Oh no." The minute I do that, I'm useless to you. If your surgeon came up to you, if you're in the ER and the doctor, you have a open compound fracture of your right arm, and your doctor comes over, looks at that and goes, "Oh no," would you want that doctor to touch you?
1,000% absolutely not.
Exactly. So we are already under some type of emotional strain to do that. Plus, some of us got 8 whole weeks worth of training.
A whole 8 weeks?
Yeah, some of them got 12. And then we're put in this position where you basically learn on the job. Okay, but you can't let people know that because hey, it's my first time doing this. Don't ever say that to anybody. It won't win you friends. Now, the reason they call me Doc, my actual title is Medical Corpsman, or actually on my D-214, it says Medical Non-Commissioned Officer. But the reason they call me Doc, it is an honorific bestowed upon me by the soldiers that I served from the 3rd Infantry Division, from the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, from the 1st Medical Group, from West Point Army Hospital, from Fort Dix Hospital, and some other places I served I can't remember right now, sorry. Because when they call you Doc, that means they have a modicum of respect for who you are and what you've done. They know that they call me, no matter what. If it's 3 a.m, we're out there freezing our little thing off, I'm coming. I'm also going to be one to tell you, you got extra socks, you got extra gloves, change your shoes, don't do this, don't do that. And during my time, especially when I was in the field, I never, ever went anywhere without my aid bag. And people would always say, "Well, why do you always carry that aid bag with you?" And I would tell them, because I'm not a faith healer. If something happens, I don't want to run back to the ambulance. I want to run back to the aid station. You have to be prepared now. I've served with some of the finest medical people and some of the finest female medical people who are truly outstanding. My job as the assistant ward master was not only to work, but to teach the other medics how things went. How to set up a tray, how to set up a sterile field. We did everything from admitting the patient. Here's the fun part. You get in the ambulance, you go out, you pick the patient up, you treat him, you bring him back, then you admit him, and you make his bed, then you give him food, then you change his IV, you put a catheter in him. That's your day. That's your night.
So you've met a lot of people under extraordinary circumstances.
Yes.
Fortunately for me, you met me under good circumstances.
You know the funny part about that? That's a yes and no.
Okay. Because
I met you as part of the Veterans Empowerment Center program. I had a social worker, Mrs. Hahn, and this is part to get me back into the world, Okay. It's been 50 plus years. I'm still not back in the world yet. I still have hard times with dealing in certain social situations. My drug of choice is isolation. If left to my own devices, I will sit in that room and never leave it. And I know that will kill me. So that is why I seek treatment. I seek treatment. Wrote a book about it.
So you are a published author also.
Yes.
You have a few books here that you're sharing with us, a few memories, picture books from Comic Cons, because our journey started from you coming into Baby Gorilla Comics.
Yes. And that was part of my therapy session. And it helped. It helped the fact that you were understanding, you were receptive. You spoke with me as I am, a human being, not somebody to either be pitied or somebody to be worshipped. And you have no idea to see you are now on my therapeutic journey. See, that's what you don't understand.
Please do explain.
All my interactions with everybody leads me either to a good path or to a bad path. They either inspire me to say it's going to stay bad for the rest of my life, but it's not that bad. And sometimes there are bright lights in the world, like yourself. And there are other people who make me want to run them over in my car. Or they take me back to times when things were so dark that, I didn't want to be in this world anymore. And these things are important. I actually wrote something about that. Would you mind if I shared it with you?
I would be my honor.
Since we're talking about going to dark places. And basically what it says is veterans matter. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Although September is designated as Suicide Prevention Month, suicide prevention among veterans, both young and old, is a 365-day mission. Suicidal thoughts are not a moral failure, nor is it a sign of being less than or weakness, but it is an admission that you need a new way of learning and understanding to achieve a more positive outlook on life. I have a very personal interest when it comes to suicide prevention. As a medic, I picked up the body of a young soldier that had committed suicide. And I have also resuscitated a young soldier that made his suicide attempt. And years ago, I myself attempted suicide and had to be resuscitated. This is not easy for me to share, but it's important that you know I've been there in places so dark in my mind and soul and body, I could not see any future. If you need help or know someone who might need help or is at risk, act now. If you feel uncomfortable with it, talk to a medical professional about your comrade and get them help ASAP. There are many ways to bring your brother and sister veterans out of the darkness before it leads to suicide. And the veterans that suffer in silence include the female veterans and those of differing sexual identity, regardless of their race or color. Veterans are a community like any other, and we should never feel ashamed or weak to ask for help because the world is so much better with you in it. You are never alone. Call the Veteran Suicide Hotline if you need it. It works. And if you need prayer, as a pastor, I'm here too.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Doc. That was very powerful, as a lot of personal insight in there. And that's why we created Streetlight Confessions, to show you that you are not alone, that there are people suffering, and we can all learn from each other and help each other. We're going to stop this episode right there, and we're going to bring part 2 back to you guys next Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss the rest of this conversation. Very impactful, very empowering, very motivating. With that being said, guys, stay tuned. Streetlight Confessions. We'll be back next week.